I think that this fosters that kind of positive self-esteem, that the children at our school do recognize that they have strengths, and they're beginning now to focus more on those strengths than as positive aspects of themselves than on their weaknesses.
Sally, what really strikes me about the book is that it's global. I think a lot of learning disabled kids, they've had so much failure in the classroom, in the traditional classroom before they get to special ed, that they feel as though school is the hugest portion of their world. And it's all about school. It's all about what I can do in school, what I can't do in school. But what I like about the book is that it really broadens everybody's world. It's not just about school, it's about your recreation, it's about the clothing you wear, it's about your culture. So it brings in a lot of different aspects so that school isn't just the focal point, and hopefully will take some stress off as well.
We are so unaccustomed in our society to say, I can't do that, or I need help on that. However, the pictures and the situations on pages 12 and 13, where you show how people do things differently or people do things with special assistance, helps students from a very early age to be able to recognize that it is okay to say, I will help you with that, but I'm going to need some help myself, or I can do this part of the task, but I'm not normally good at that task. And the students at the lab school are unusually self-aware in their strengths and their weaknesses, and can advocate for themselves and say what they can do, what they can't do, what they will need to get the job done better than a lot of students are.
Yeah, I think that one thing that's nice about this book, and I've heard other people talk about today, is that it helps children not overgeneralize their disabilities or their areas of weakness. And I was thinking how, as a teacher, I could show that to a child or a group. And maybe one way to think about it is, I think a lot of children, and you can use like a big black piece of paper, see themselves as a big black piece of paper, and that may represent weakness. And they see their whole selves as being weak. But then you could start tearing off pieces of paper of areas that they have strengths in and say, okay, this represents this. And you keep tearing pieces smaller and smaller until eventually you have just a very small area, or maybe a couple of their weaknesses, but to help them see that they don't have to overgeneralize their entire self just because they're not strong in reading or have another disability.
That's so important. We see it all the time with kids who say, I've just failed everything. You failed everything? Well, no. I failed English.
Right. It was just one part of the day, and they obsess, or they perseverate on that one piece, and they don't see all the other things.
Or they're doing 25 math problems that get 2 wrong and say, oh, I did so terribly. So it's again the part-whole problem that we talked about before. Okay. We're on the subject of diversity, diverse teaching styles, diverse learning styles, diverse use of art forms. And Helen is going to do a demonstration of different way of presenting a book, and then we'll follow with different ways to do book reports that aren't necessarily a written book report. Okay, Helen?
Thank you. Would you all do me a favor and close your eyes, okay? Just listen. Just listen. There was an old man who fished alone in a skiff in the Gulf Stream, and he had gone 84 days now without taking a fish. In the first 40 days, a boy had been with him, but after 40 days without a fish, the boy's parents had told him that the old man was now definitely and finally salau, which is the worst form of unlucky. And the boy had gone at their orders in another boat, which caught 3 good fish the first week. It made the boy sad to see the old man come in each day with his skiff empty, and he always went down to help him carry either the coiled line or the gas and harpoons and the sail that was furled around the mast. The sail was patched with flour sacks, and furled, it looked like the flag of a permanent defeat. You open up your eyes? My name is Manaline, And I'm the boy in the story. And we're going to be studying this book written by a man called Ernest Hemingway, the author. And it's called The Old Man and the Sea. We live, by the way, in an island called Cuba, which we'll study about later on, and maybe we'll even make some fish dishes that my mom and dad used to make for me when I lived there with them. I think, though, that you want to know the story. Well, the story is that the old man went out on the boat by himself. And he went and he rowed, and he rowed, and he rowed, and finally he caught a fish. And it was a very big fish. It was almost as big as his boat. I want to show you how big this fish is. This fish is 18 feet. Look at the size of Santiago's fish. Santiago got very lucky because he caught this marlin. Oh, it was as big as his whole boat. That's how big his fish was. And then, you know what happened? The sharks came, and they began to eat the fish. And then, but now I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story because we're going to read so that you can find out exactly what happened to Santiago. But I'd like you to do some art projects now that will allow me to see if you know what the story was about.
So these are 4 different ways to do a book report where you're not writing along with it.
Absolutely, and actually they can be as varied as the imagination and the skills and talents of the students, but we just thought we'd take 4 and appeal to this group's creativity and see what they came up with, just like I would in the classroom.
Good. All right, this group for the storyboard?
Okay, our group did a storyboard, and after we reviewed the story for ourselves, because you know, we wanted to make sure we were all together here. We had the artists in our group work with us to do the pictures that go along with this text.
Good job. That's great, because you really got the values of the story and the values of the characters. I think that's terrific. Oh, very good. Thank you.
Next group?
Our group did a diorama, and we are depicting the one part where the old man is struggled very hard to get in this marlin that is as large as his own boat, and he's so proud of himself. He gets it in, and then sharks come, and we're portraying that. There are sharks in there, and start eating the fish that he had struggled and worked so hard to bring in.
That's a beautiful job.
That's great, and I think this is an example of wonderful teamwork here, too. We could have assigned this to each and every one of you to do your own, but as a collaborative effort, this was really, I think, teamwork at its best, so that's great. That's terrific.
Yeah, the radio broadcast is next.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Geraldo Costello, live from Cuba, broadcast to your living room from Cuba. I'm here with Santiago, Cuba's most unlucky fisherman. Boy, is he salao. Any words you'd like to share with us, Santiago?
Ay, caramba! Qué lástima!
Okay, thank you, Santiago. Ladies and gentlemen, the sea is rough today, and Santiago is ready to give up. He's in the boat. The sea is rough. The waves are high. Wait a minute, folks. He's got something on the line. He's struggling. He's coming. He's tugging. Oh my God! That's what the joke. I can't help him. There's something wrong. It's the roller. I can do nothing. Fish! And ladies and gentlemen, Santiago is ready to rumble. He grabs some rope. Ties the fish to the boat. The crowd goes wild. Will you look at that fish? What a beauty, ladies and gentlemen. It's bigger than the boat.
That's great. Wow. Last group?
Sit right back and you hear a tale of the old man in the sea. He sailed for many days and no fish did he see. His luck had started running out, the villagers all knew that he was not unlucky and an old man too. An old man too. There was a wonderful small fishing village in Cuba where one of the greatest fishermen lived, and he had grown old, and for 40 days he had not caught a fish. And word was out that his luck was gone. But the old man and his young companion Manolo were the only determined ones in the entire village that the old man could still catch a fish.
We had